Hello, Ian Laing, a Scottish actor, focus on TV and film, also voice artist. John.
Hello, my name is John Michael Foulger. I'm a professional actor for over 30 years, and I'm known for film, television, stage, and commercials. Rory.
Hello, I'm Rory Wilton. I'm with Teresa at Filmcast Cornwall South West. I'm a stage, film, TV, voiceover, and other things actor. And this is Emma.
Hello, I'm Emma Spurgin Hussey with Teresa at Filmcast Cornwall and South West. Also, I'm an actor of various forms, film and telly and stage and radio and audiobooks and all sorts of things like that. And also occasionally a writer too. Angela.
And I'm Angela Elliott, and I'm a scriptwriter for about 35 years, starting in documentaries and moving into TV, film, drama, novels, and all sorts of things. So today we're going to be reading Inpatient by Simon Laurence Doyle. And let's scroll down. Interior, hospital corridor, dream. Claire stands in a shadowed hospital corridor, 30s, haunted eyes that have seen too much, too young. She wears a hospital gown. Blood seeps through the bottom of the gown and spots the floor. She stares into the void before her. There is only one path to walk, so she walks it. Interior, Sawyer House, bedroom, night. Claire tosses a double bed as the nightmare builds. Interior hospital corridor. Mold spider webs across the sky blue walls, stretches to the ceiling. It forms jagged letters that spell Ellesmere. Somewhere a baby cries.
Archie, it's okay, baby. Mum's here.
Dr. Tomlinson stands halfway down the corridor, stooped, features eerily blurred, an unholy presence. His hands rest on an incubator. Tiny, pale fingers reach up, form a swaddling blanket inside. As Claire steps closer, flies swarm from the tiny fingertips. Interior, Sawyer House, bedroom, night. Claire's face twitches, caught in her nightmare. Interior, hospital corridor, dream. Tomlinson wheels the crib into darkness, disappears.
Wait, stop!
She steps forward and is instantly engulfed by inky shadow. She turns, disorientated, lost, alone. Then a red light flickers, illuminating an imposing oak door at the corridor's end. From the surrounding darkness comes the buzz of flies and a sudden hiss of escaping air. Interior, Sawyer House, bedroom, night. Claire opens her eyes, covers her mouth, chokes back a sob. Then wham, she doubles over, clutches her obviously pregnant abdomen.
James, wake up. Something's wrong.
Exterior, Sawyer House, night. An isolated suburban house drenched in rain. Claire totters out with her husband, James, 30s, non-designer stubble, dad-to-be levels of terror.
Keys, Claire, keys.
Jacket, pocket.
Dad, one of us is calm.
Interior, exterior, James's car, continuous. James helps Claire into the car, is about to follow when...
The book. Did you get the book?
Seriously?
I
Claire
promised.
grabs James's wrist, eyes wild.
I promised. And I need to be prepared for everything this time. Everything.
Interior, Sawyer House, bedroom, night. James grabs a book from Claire's bedroom table, gold-rimmed pages, pastel colours that emanate calm. We get a brief glance at the book's title, half covered by James's hand, What Modern Healthcare Won't Tell You. Interior, exterior, James's car, night. James climbs into the car, places the book on the back seat, puts a CD that plays a sentimental song. Claire meets his eyes. Despite her pain, she smiles. This is clearly their song.
Nice touch. Me and you.
Together.
Always. Team Sawyer.
Exterior, country roads, night. Dark roads bordered by twisted trees, biblical levels of rain. Interior, exterior, James's car, night, moving. James leans forward, granny driving, thumps his fingers on the wheel, palpable tension.
Okay, we're okay. A bit early, but everything's going to be fine.
He shifts gear and the car accelerates, thunder rumbles. They pull up at crossroads. James creeps forward, looks left and right as the wipers beat rhythmically. A car sprays rainwater as it zooms by. Claire gasps as another contraction comes, grips James's leg like a vice, and then honk! A car flies past, narrowly missing them.
Fucking hell, what kind of speed was he doing?
A rev and the car pulls away. Exterior, flooded road, night. Police tape barricades a flooded road ahead. An abandoned car lies half submerged in the water. Tree branches litter the road. There's no way through. Interior, exterior, James's car, night, moving. James kills the engine.
We can go round. There's bound to be a way back to the main road.
It takes us away from the motorway. We'll be adding ages onto our time.
Claire grimaces. She brings her hands up to her face. It's covered in blood.
James,
Another burst of visceral pain. James looks at his wife, sees the blood, blanches.
Well, we've got to go to Hathersage.
No way. Never again. Those were your words.
You're bleeding, in pain. If we can't get to the motorway, Fieldstone Royal isn't an option.
Another contraction. This time she screams. James places a hand on her shoulder, squeezes.
It'll be okay. You and me, remember?
The wipers thump, thump, thump. Claire grips James's hand as he dials a number on his phone.
Operator?
Maternity, please.
Another fork of lightning as the car pulls away into the night. Exterior hospital night, establishing the hospital as an old district general with all the charm of a Dickensian workhouse. Red brick buildings choked by ivy. It sits on Hathersage Hill, an ugly blot on the landscape. Buildings reach to the leaden sky like church spires. Exterior hospital entrance night. James pushes Claire in a wheelchair. She clutches a book to her chest like body armour. A large sign outside the hospital reads, Hathersage, new building, new world, new ideas. Underneath the Hathersage insignia, a purple butterfly surrounded by a circle. Interior hospital atrium, continuous, vaulted window ceiling open to a stormy sky. Unlike the exterior, inside is modern sterility.
Hello.
Two midwives bustle over. Leading the charge is Paula, 50s equine, hair in a ponytail as severe as her expression. Helen effortlessly keeps pace beside her, 20s, newly qualified, constantly on edge, a walking double espresso. Just in time, thanks to the storm, the whole hospital's on divert now. Paula's patter suggests she's more comfortable with silence than small talk. You must be Claire. Nice baby book. How's the bleeding?
Stopped, I think.
Helen pushes the wheelchair towards the entrance. Helen will examine you. If everything looks okay, we'll aim for a normal delivery.
Angela, you're Helen. I think he's got a bit confused.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Apologies. Let's go
Okay.
back to the top of the page. Apologies for that. I will edit.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Helen. Just in time. Thanks to the storm, the whole hospital's on divert now. Paula's patter suggests she's more comfortable with silence than small talk.
You must be Claire. Nice baby. How's the bleeding?
Stopped, I think.
Helen pushes the wheelchair towards the entrance.
Helen will examine you. If everything looks okay, we'll aim for a normal delivery.
If she's bleeding, shouldn't the doctor?
Unless you fancy waking Dr. Bennett, I suggest we get cracking.
The group disappears inside like the hospital swallowed them. Interior maternity triage night. Claire lies legs apart, vulnerable. Helen takes a speculum, lifts the covers, movement, and Claire winces. Minimal bleeding, can't visualize the cervix. Her head reappears and she offers an apologetic smile. I'm going to have to do a manual examination. Is that okay? Claire doesn't reply, just nods. Again, Helen disappears. About 5 centimeters, and I think she rearranges. Claire winces again. Fetal sutures. Paula, can you double check for me?
Dilated and contracting? No need. Are we ready to have a baby?
Interior delivery suite side room later. White walls, white sink, white curtains. A painting sits on the wall. It shows a church standing isolated on a hill. Light shines through a stained glass window that's patterned with the Hathersage insignia. The painting is entitled Hathersage Hill. A fly walks across the picture, sits on the window. Claire lies on the bed, exhausted. She's attached to a CTG machine that thumps out the baby's heartbeat. Her book sits on the table beside her. Chapter 2, When It All Changes. James and Helen stand at her side while Paula kneels at the foot of the bed.
Okay, we've got another contraction coming, just like before, remember?
You've got this. You're doing so well.
Claire yells, grits her teeth, bears down.
That's it, that's...
Her voice stops and she gasps, not a sound Claire wanted to hear.
What's wrong?
The front of Paula's apron is red with blood. Clots of blood dot the floor. Paula turns to Helen, panic, barely controlled. We need to get Dr. Bennett.
Blood? But that's normal, right?
Paula hesitates, reticent, but Helen's having none of it. Get Dr. Bennett now, Paula. Paula finally pulls the emergency buzzer, footsteps, and the room is an instant hive of activity. Dr. Bennett leads the charge, 40s, jaded, tired. She reflects the disorder of the room. She is flanked by Jenny, another midwife, 30s, polite, but permanent don't fuck with me expression.
Okay, who wants to fill me in?
Claire Sawyer, one previous C-section, 38 plus 4, admitted with a bleeding and pain.
Bennett grabs an ultrasound scanner from the corner of the room, lifts up Claire's gown, squirts on jelly, starts searching. Claire's old C-section scar can just be seen, pale at the bottom of her abdomen.
What's going on?
Lie still, please, Miss Sawyer.
She holds the probe in place, points to the screen.
Placenta previa. Who did the VE?
I thought I felt the sutures. I've never felt a previa before. Bennett leans in to Paula, a professional aside, but her voice is ice cold.
A previous section presented with pain and bleeding, and you didn't even get her seen by a doctor. Did you at least read her notes?
Of course. One previous uncomplicated section.
Uncomplicated?
His eyes are on fire, a shocked silence, breath is held.
Archie. His name was Archie.
Nobody misses the word was. Bennett turns back to Claire, manages a semi-reassuring smile.
Claire, my name is Sarah Bennett. I'm one of the
Obstetric.
Thank you, obstetric doctors. Your placenta is blocking the baby's exit, which is why you're bleeding. We need to get you to theatre.
Her name's not Baby. It's Freya.
Call theatres. Cat 1 section. Ready, Claire?
Brakes are snapped off the bed. Claire squeezes James' hand, face set, scared but strong.
Let's go.
Interior delivery suite corridor night. A porter pushes Claire's bed, flanked by Bennett. James keeps pace behind. The noise of the CTG melds with the trolley's wheels. Faces pass in a blur, too fast. Interior obstetric theatres night. Dr. Connolly, 60s, a moth-eaten anaesthetist, prepares sedation with an operating department practitioner, ODP. An unusual double act where Connolly is frail and thin, the ODP is large and ebullient. Connolly hobbles across when Clara is wheeled in.
Good morning, Mrs. Sawyer. I'm the anaesthetist, Dr. Connolly.
My husband, James.
He's going to have to wait outside, I'm afraid. RSI for a placenta previa, fetal barbo,
Bradycardia.
that fella as well. And we're going to need propofol. Rock, Midas, please.
The ODP hands him a syringe filled with clear liquid. Claire looks around, nervous and confused.
Can I just...
I'm going to start by giving you some medication to help you relax.
Connolly pushes the sedative, watches his machine.
Like 4 gin and tonics all at once.
As Claire's vision fractalizes, she notices a figure stood in the corner of the theatre, the White Lady. She wears an old-fashioned nurse's uniform and high-heeled shoes, blonde hair in a bob. She faces the wall, a swaddled bundle under one arm.
Now then, Claire, let's count backwards from 10.
Okay. We're at 10, although it's tempting to read on. John, thoughts?
Intrigued. Want to know where it's going. Are we, I hate to say this, but are we in one of those generic hospital horror dramas? We haven't read enough to decide. What we did read, I enjoyed, I found very intriguing. So yes, I will read the rest of it. But once again, I'm sorry to say this, but where and when?
Okay, thank you.
Emma. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's lots of mystery set up in that. You know, you wonder what happened at Hathersidge last time. Just my usual beef. It's the description of characters. How helpful is the equine quality of Paula? I mean, we just don't seem to get it about male characters, I don't think. I think it's her severity and her, you know, sort of, what do you call it? When people are very sort of like, I can't remember, it begins with T, is when you don't have many words. And she's sort of,
Taciturn.
yeah, that's it. Her taciturn quality. She's quite tight-lipped. Those seem to be the most important things about her. and that she's wrong, I think. But yeah, her equine, it makes me think that this was based on a real person, and this is just somebody remembering, a writer remembering something that happened. But I mean, just casting wise, you know, you're going to have to look for horsewomen, and it's going to be tricky. And so yeah, I mean, maybe it's not the most vital thing. Right, what is important about her appearance, if anything? The description of Helen seems more useful to me because, you know, we get the sense of her energy. Do we need the description of Paula's patter? I think we get the fact that she talks about sort of 3 slightly different subjects without almost a breath in between. The dialogue does it for you. The painting on the wall interested me. It's a bit like the mezzo tint in the M.R. James story, you know, or that thing in Sapphire and Steel, indeed, where there are changes. It made me intrigued. It also made me think a bit when we're describing the place, you know, with all the charm of a Victorian workhouse. What was it called? Red something that had Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston in it. They're brother and sister, and I can't remember what it's called, but it had that kind of sort of, you know, almost like a silhouette on the hill.
Something, was it?
Oh, Scarlet thing, maybe, yeah. But yeah, I just think there's a nice eeriness, and it held my attention. And I think this has been the thing, quite honestly, so far that I've most wanted to read on to the end with. So this is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, even though I'm not terribly interested in childbirth as a non-parent, and you know, I just think there's something very, there's something very eerie going on here, and I like that, you know, that sense of creeping unease.
Yeah, I like it. I'm hoping it's going to be very British. Rather, because it's at the moment it seems very genetically American horror film, and I think if you could make it more set in this country, or clearly set in this country, and steer away from the classic Americanisms, that I think there's something really quite creepy and interesting going on here. Lots of things set up, you know, typical horror setups with the kind of the dream sequence, and then the painting, and then the spirit in the corner. Yes, we know that there's dark things have happened in the hospital in the past and so forth. It thunders along, which is good. Avoid the cliches, please, because yes, we've all seen quite a few of these sorts of things. But I think avoid making it too American, because there's a million of them, and this could be better than that.
Oh, thank you, Ian.
Yeah, I liked it. I'd like to know a bit more about where it's going, and I'd like to bring that into the early part of the story. I think we're missing something that signposts where this story might go. I don't think we need all of that in the car to get us to the point of making that decision about having to go to this other hospital, which I'm assuming is where they lost their first child. You know, there's some reference to that. So they don't want to go. I'm making some assumptions there. We don't need all of that. And also, there's a lot of medical terminology being used, which I'm not sure, as a viewer, I'm really going to pay much attention to. I don't understand it. We want to know that it's a difficult birth. As you know, there's danger in the situation, but I don't think we need all of that specific detail. And we could use some of that time in the early part of this, in the early pages, to set signpost a bit more about what's going to be happening later on. Where are we going with this? There's 2 things I quite liked. One was there's a fly imagery recurring, you know, which I really like. So there's something about that, obviously, it's going to, one hopes. And also at the end, the references to seeing the White Lady, which assumes that, or presumes that there's been a white lady before, but there's no reference to her. So it's not a white lady, it's the White Lady. So that's obviously very significant. So there's a lot to go on, but I think we could get a bit more in the early stages. That's all.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just say a tiny thing, Angela, just before you? I was just thinking about the use of the medical jargon. I mean, Rory and I, as you all know, who work with us, work as simulated patients, and we teach as well as act in the
medical
exams.
schools, yeah.
And we're often having to sort of suggest that students don't use jargon unless they pick up that, you know, they have to read the room and see whether they think that the patient you know, understands or not. But I was just thinking that in a way it might be being used to sort of obfuscate, mightn't it? That kind of thing about, you know, you're just a body having things done to it, and all these people are talking like not even, it doesn't seem like your own language anymore.
Emphasizing that sort of in a machine kind of thing. Like it says the hospital swallows them.
About that,
And I think
you know.
that's a very important point, because if you think about it, what I don't get a sense of is from whose point of view are we seeing those scenes in the hospital. And if this is Claire and her very intense experience, she's not going to be picking up on any of that language, any of that. She's going to have a different experience of the everything going on around her. And so it might be worth deciding whose point of view are you really telling that from at that stage. Yeah, I think you're right there. It's not needed, is it?
He's a medic, the writer, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that might be why, but
Yeah.
he's telling it from that point of view.
Yeah.
But as a woman who gave birth in a hospital in not dissimilar circumstances, although I didn't get as far as having I had an epidural. I didn't have a cesarean, but I do remember not remembering any of the language that was used, although there were points at the time when suddenly the room was full of people, including the previous shift, because they changed shifts halfway through, and about 2 doctors came through and they prepared an incubator just in case, and because you know, forceps were required, and you know, there was a lot going on, and I don't remember any of the language that they used. Thinking back, but they must have been having quiet. Maybe those conversations need to be, they go to one side and they just, you know, she doesn't pick up, she doesn't hear what's said. You know, it's just a blur of pain or no pain or kind of confusion. I don't know. Also,
that it depends on, again, when we're set.
Exactly.
Which we haven't established beginning, because if it's set now, then yes.
That's so that is very important. And one of my things that I put at the top of my notes, date and place. We're kind of assuming it's the UK, but like you said, it's got a very American feel to it. So it could be America. And we need to know, is this the present day or at some point in the past? I think I would have liked to have played against the predictable. It's very predictable to have a workhouse type hospital. There are loads of them in the UK. They've been converted from old workhouses and had new extensions, etc., and reused in the present day. But it's very predictable to have the workhouse hospital on the hillside and the dark and the moon, and it's all and
it's raining and there's lightning
and lightning and it's and you start going, oh God, really? Can't we do something? Can't we play against the predictable and have an absolutely thoroughly fuck off modern hospital that you think nothing can possibly go wrong, you know? And maybe if you want to give us a flash of lightning, I've no objection to lightning, but in that flash of lightning, give us a glimpse of the hospital that used to be there. And then come back to the absolute modern hospital and it's all brand spanking new. And, you know, it's just a thought. I think I might have done that, something like that. I loved it. I love your writing, Simon, but this did read much more like a novel. I loved the anticipation, you know, the kind of suspense of it. But again, you've got quite a lot of lines of action cutting in between your dialogue. Page 3, you've got the book. Did you get the book? Seriously? Claire grasped Jane's wrist, eyes wild. We don't need that. Just let the actors run through the whole thing, all the dialogue, you know. You don't need to interject all the little, they blinked their eyes here and they gasped there. Just let them do it. I like the way that the car scene played out. But I do agree with you, Ian. I think we could got through that probably quite much quicker. I think this is down to the amount of action that you wrote in that. He shifts gear and the car accelerates, thunder rumbles. You just say the car pulls away as thunder rumbles. Pull up at a crossroads. Windows. We don't need creaks forward, looking left and right as the windows. Let the actor act. You know, yeah, if you want to emphasize the sound of the windscreens, you know, pulls up the crossroads, woof, 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 you know, shh, water goes past. I mean, really think in terms of atmosphere, but not wording it all out like a novel, you know, just so that we get the atmosphere. You know, that way I think you move through it faster. Action sequences that are fast-paced action need to be written short and move through them fast, and then you keep us on the edge of the seat. I don't know what else my notes say. Suspense good, but again, like I said, maybe too much interruptions. That's it really. I haven't written anything else on that. It does make you want to read on, of course, but I think that's because it's more like a novel than it is a script. And I think you know how to keep us in suspense. So yeah. Anything else anyone else wants to say?
I was trying to think what it reminded me of, and it kind of reminds me of Bedlam, which was like a horror. Well, it was almost a gothic horror, but it was set in Bedlam. And secondly, I have to say, Simon, I absolutely loved Ness. I read it all the way to the end, and it's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. If somebody doesn't pick that up, then it's a cosmic tragedy. And that's it. That's all I had to say.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much for that. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.